just wait.
That's right. I'll set up.
So what I'll do is I'll do those 25 tomorrow. Back to the masses.
But it was too, like I said, the shelf was too close to the. That's all I did.
Like in here.
Like I said, it was okay there. They should have left it in use with it.
Well, that's good. See, they're finding out, the vaccine can, if you had it,
And I
Throw that in there more.
it's back to what it was.
I've got these stories.
It's gonna get crazy again.
It's a different kind of virus now.
It's
what I was saying, but-
mutated,
Yeah.
and they're worried that they're gonna get another one after this one. But this one's real easy. Well, they don't want to get vaccinated.
But I think.
I don't suppose how do that say anything as stupid as what stupid is.
They're exercising their constitutional rights.
To die. That's what it is.
¿Cómo está Rich?
Surviving.
¿How's your hermano?
Better than I am.
How is she?
She doing good?
How old is she?
Well, according to Rico, she's 94. And she goes, where in the hell he got that number beyond me?
Was she excited you got that gene? What? Well, good for me.
And like I told her, if I died, you have over $1 million there. Go blow it.
Your mom would.
Maybe if we take just the top off of that.
I told her, go get a cruise,
Top,
go
you
anywhere you
see
want to
it
go.
was before, you know, with all the rock
You'll have
and all
$1
that.
million
Where
surplus.
you could actually see in there.
Just throw away.
You know what I mean?
Just about.
Se le quita toda la tabla y después, or rebuild it. If it's a no-
They should rebuild it if they're gonna, you know
or
what I
rebuild
mean?
it, no?
Yeah, and then,
But throw more.
and make sure that we're gonna have, police being around,
Yeah.
you know, because, I heard that, the employees from here are going daily and picking up meat every day.
And then on the way back, I'll get this
They took that thing too close to,
cruises.
They did.
they should have put it out of town somehow. Yeah.
I know, pero,
I saw your pickup. You should see it.
Took them a year.
That thing's immaculate. It looks new. A dog that he has. You should see it.
So you should see when I had it towed to Joseph to have the fuel pump changed. They were stopping, what's his name, on the record to see if he was selling it. You know, when it was at Joseph's, there were people were stopping there to sell it, see if I sell
You
it.
did everything to it, huh?
Huh?
You did everything to it. You didn't cut corners.
No?
Did you drive it or no?
Yeah, I was driving it the other day. An 86 Dodge.
Yes, sir.
Take
Forward.
standard.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you're not going to do
I
that.
used the same original
I'm pretty sure they
color
are.
so that we wouldn't have to paint the inside.
Okay, good.
It's a green, isn't it?
No, it's a charcoal gray. Oh, it's a gray.
Yeah.
How did you see it?
He saw it.
I saw it.
He was over there wanting to buy it.
Oh, he gave me a tour of it.
When he had it torn apart.
He had just finished it.
Oh, okay.
The only thing he needed, I think, was a bumper. There was
Back
one
bumper.
thing that he needed.
And then the chrome on the windshield.
maybe. That's all he was asking.
Yeah, and-
But you were gonna go like in a week to pick it up.
Yeah, and then what happened there was, he tried putting it himself, he broke 2 windshields. So I told him, just leave it, take it to Leo's Glass and have them do it. So that's what I did.
It's a
I
beautiful
had to buy
truck.
another tire because the spare was no good. Shit.
He could put that truck in a car show and it would stand out. Oh, yeah.
And then,
Huh?
86,000?
Yeah.
and then I had Joseph do the carburetor for the new unleaded gas. I think it was a hot line.
It's a clean truck.
Except for the door I screwed in.
Actually, a paint job.
No, before.
Because he fixed that, right?
Yeah, we had to get a new door. What it was the truck never started on the first turn of the key, never. That day, we did, and it was in gear, so I think it ruined the door. And then the hood was kind of messed up because of the hailstorm that we got caught in at West. So I had to get a new hood.
That's a heavy duty Dodge.
Not done, 3/4?
It's about a 3/4 ton. It's got the hubcaps on, original hubcaps, or original wheels.
No, those were, the chrome ones were
Oh, you bought it?
aftermarket,
Oh, okay.
because it just had those little tires. Then I changed it to the white ones. And then the black rims, those were, we changed those.
Okay.
Because I couldn't find anybody to comb the rims. It's crazy. Nobody wants to work anymore.
Well, that guy did a good job on the truck.
Who did it?
What's his name?
Santiago.
Santiago.
Jaramillo, over there at the industrial park. Do you remember where Sanchez Auto Body was?
You know, it's, mira,
It was after Sanchez left.
Yeah.
mi marido está contigo.
Yeah, we ordered, and then I had to have the rear bumper replaced.
He was waiting for that when I saw it.
And then he had a hard time with that bumper, lining it up. And then we couldn't find one with the 2 steps on the side. So I go, okay, I'm stuck with the regular regular bumper. And then we put the roll bar back on
We're
it.
waiting for Maria. We're waiting for Maria. As soon as she gets here, we'll start.
You saw it when it was outside or still inside?
No, he had just taken it out. He had, that's the same day he took it out. You could still smell the paint on it.
Yeah. And then, we did all kinds of work to it.
But that truck has been taken care of. Thanks, Maria.
You guys have not come in?
What's that?
I saw him in there.
I guess not. We're gonna go ahead and start.
I just do 18 grand.
I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let the record reflect that it is now 4:08 PM on Wednesday, July the 28th. Roll call.
Harold Garcia,
Present.
Jose Gallegos,
Here.
Rick Rubio,
Present.
Roland Medrano,
Here.
Isaac Sandoval, and Raymond Tafoya.
Here. Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum. Can we do the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Tafoya, can you lead us? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Tafoya. Next item, approval of the agenda. Do we have any suggested changes from staff?
Yes, miss.
Do we have any suggested changes from staff on the agenda?
Yes, it's my understanding, Mr. Henderson, we are going to pull the
Item 1,
item number 1 for the
gazebo.
gazebo. We're going to pull that one.
The one for Lincoln Park?
Yes, sir.
So So it's a request of staff to remove item 1. All right? What are the wishes of the board?
Let it be withdrawn.
Any questions, comments, anything else from staff? Nothing else? Okay, we have a request from staff to remove item 1 under business items. Any questions or comments from the board? None, hearing none. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Make a motion, we approve it.
We have a motion by Mr. Rubio, second
Second, Mr. Chairman.
by Mr. Medrano. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is approval of the minutes for May 24th, 2021. Any comments or questions from the board?
No, make a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion by Mr. Rubio to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Gallegos. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item is item under new business, or actually under business items. We have item number 1, which should actually be item 2, application for certificate of approval for the demolition of a portion of property located at 105 Bridge Street, Las Vegas, New Mexico, 87701, as submitted by Mr. Lopez Group LLC, applicant and owner, and for the installation of new sidewalks, widen road in the area as shown on the plans submitted. Staff, would you introduce the item, please?
Okay, it's just an application for certificate of approval for the demolition of a portion of property located at 105 Bridge Street, Las Vegas, New Mexico, 87701, as submitted by the Lopez Group LLC, and for the installation of new sidewalks, widen road in the area as shown on the plan submitted.
Okay,
And you got plans, so
yeah,
if you need bigger ones, let me know.
all right.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mayes.
I just, part of this was a triggering from a red tag that was issued, first day of inspection was December the 3rd, 2020, that we noticed that the building was starting to separate a little bit more than usual, and we're getting a lot of calls from concerned citizens. We kept monitoring the building, and in March 26, 2021, we issued a notice of ordinance violation, which was certified mail sent to Lopez Group LLC, letting them know the location of violation was 105 Bridge Street, and what we had was a unsafe structure. And so with that request for abatement of an unsafe condition, it triggered the plan to take down the building or that portion of, whatever the owner would want to do at that point, and that's where we're at here. The certified letter was signed on the date that they received it, and so that's what we have on the code enforcement side.
Anything else from staff? Mr. Lopez, would you like to present your plan, sir?
Need to swear me in or anything?
Do the presentation first.
Okay. Well, good evening, commissioners.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's been a long day, so. As Mr. Minus had indicated, got red tagged on the property. It's a property I've had for a little bit. Bought it for the West Las Vegas City Schools. It's been in disrepair for quite a while. The intent was to renovate it, and that's still the intent, but the red tag precipitated me putting it to the front of my list of projects that I'm doing. So when you get a red tag or you start looking at a project, you start figuring out what the highest and best use of that project is. And with that, I'm standing there one day and all my kids have gone to West Las Vegas City Schools, and I saw that little road, and I've tried to make that turn with school buses and so on. And it was also suggested to me, and I forget who it was, somebody, I don't know if it was the city manager at the time, but he knew I owned the building, and we generally said that it would be nice if that road was wider. So that's, again, back to highest and best use of that property. I said, this is the last opportunity that we have to widen that road. I went to the West Las Vegas City Schools, talked with the superintendent over there. He thought it was a great idea. And then I came to the municipality to start that discussion. Interestingly enough, City of Las Vegas has DOT money. They're going to be going and renovating all those streets, and they were willing to allocate some money towards the widening of that road. So it seemed like it was in the best interest of everybody. I really have a building that is essentially already demoed. You can pass those along. Those are pictures I took this morning of the indoors. There's no floor, no roof. There's essentially an east wall, and that's it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's demoed for all practical purposes. So really now the issue is safety. I'd like to get that wall down, demo it. We're going to preserve the west side of that facade, so there's still going to be a building on the Big Street side. And then the first page is a bird's eye view of a rendering of some some decks and some future facades that we'll build there. And that'll be coming through the permitting process in front of you guys for comment. So red tag precipitated the process. I did go to the city council. We have an MOU in place, executed for the demolition and for me to donate that property. The city is going to share in some of the costs of the demolition. And they're on a timeline, so that's really what's pushing this thing forward. And that was why it went to city council, my understanding was they're on a 6-week time frame. We're now 2 weeks into that 6-week period for me to demo this building. So we're now just formally going through the process to get comment.
So I have a question to staff. Are you familiar with the regulations with regards to historical preservation, the permitting process that it takes to, when you're dealing with historical structures? Because I understand that part of the community is within the historical register, and so there's a different procedure that needs to be taken other than red tagging and other than just permitting or other than just agreeing to build a road, because you're dealing with historical preservation that the city is a part of, and so I'm not sure if the city lately has been following those processes or not, because it doesn't seem to me like with this application that there's anything added to the application that reinforces that the process has been taken. So that's why I'm asking the question.
That would be, Mr. Chairman, a condition that, of course, would be required. Some buildings are in the National Registry, and there's some that are just in the State Registry. A call has been made to the Preservation Board in the state, and typically with those type of demolitions where it's an unsafe structure, those type of demolitions are, because it's not, the building is, let's say, too far gone to be put into the vacant building ordinance, because part of the vacant building ordinance is to preserve what we have and protect and keep buildings from dilapidating. What we did with the red tag notice is that we tried to preserve the building, but through Mr. Lopez's research, the building cannot be salvaged. Okay, when I was here, like about, you want me to give you a little bit of history? Back about 8-9 years ago, they wanted to do like the fourplex there. And even with the drawings that the architect tried to get going for that building, there was nothing that they could preserve, not even the historic Preservation Board could even, they couldn't even keep a wall on it. So it's gone through the whole process. A call is in to Carol at the New Mexico Preservation, but it's not in the National Registry.
Okay, so you mentioned Carol, and you said a call is into her?
Email, yes, sir.
And what's the result of that call?
We're waiting for that response, and that's what I'm saying, is that you can condition it with that. But on demolitions where an unsafe and structure is in place, the Preservation Board really, they see safety as more important.
Okay.
If I could, my understanding is it's within the historic district, but it's not on the historic registry, that building in particular.
Okay, but with the city being involved with the process,
Sure.
it now makes it a different process than it just being your application. Because you noted that the city recently received funds from the Department of Transportation. So I've been an applicant, and we, the county, are an applicant of funds for DOT funds. And if the city is planning on using NMDOT funds for something that, it's a premeditated,
They're not.
it's a premeditated plan, if you ask me that, because the building hasn't been approved for demolition yet, but there's already an MOU in place between the city and the applicant. So it's a premature, so what happens if
They're
we
not
don't?
using any DOT funding to participate in the demo.
Okay, but what happens if we say no to the application today? Where does the MOU between you and the city go?
Approved? I don't know.
See, that's the thing, the thing that concerns me is that the city is not following the proper process.
I think
And
what
I know that the director is here, maybe the director can answer that better than anyone here, because,
I think what precipitated it, and yeah, you chime in, but what precipitated it was timing. So they have to have drawings done, engineered, approved, and this was like a last minute thing. So that's what precipitated the discussion and the promptness of getting the MOU in place. So I understand what you're saying. In a typical scenario, I think you would follow that process. In this case, timing
the city
was
has,
an issue.
the city has been working on that plan for 2 years.
I know, but this,
And if this building was red tagged in 2020,
but it's privately
it's-
owned. It's
no,
privately
no,
owned.
it's
So they would
inspected-
have
it was
to
inspected.
participate in that. So they just couldn't take the building from me.
but the city acted prematurely as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Chair, let me just add that.
Can you
yes,
please stand up, come here, so we can get your recording clear?
Bill Henderson, Director, Community Development. We are aware that we may have to submit a letter to the state preservation on this topic, but the first step is for the board to either approve or disapprove the demolition. The state would still have to get involved in this building in some fashion, I believe, from the communications I've had with them. And you are right, that if it wasn't any city money involved in this project, it'd be strictly a vote from this board for this gentleman to do the demolition. So it does put that little hurdle in the project, and we will probably have to write a letter to the state and get their approval and then give them all the information we have on the condition of the building, what the intent is, and so forth.
Being that this project is going to have an impact on the public, I think it's only appropriate for us to have, if there's anyone from the public here that would like to present on behalf or against the project, I think it's appropriate for us to allow that. And so, at this time, even though it's not on the agenda, I'm going to allow for public input. Is there anyone from the public who would like to present on this on behalf or against it? Mr. Baca, Amo, anyone else? Mr. Baca, if you'd like to step up, state your name for the record, please.
And don't you have to swear them in now?
I can. Yeah,
Because they are doing testimony.
okay. Do you want to swear them in, Maria?
You-
I swear them in?
Yes, you
Okay.
do.
All right, Mr. Baca. You
Anything
swear to,
else?
you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
So help me God.
Thank you, sir.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Baca, state your name for the record.
Chairman Garcia, members of the Design Review Board. My name is Elmo Baca. I'm a small business owner. I own the Indigo Theater on Bridge Street. I also own a historic building at 146 Bridge Street. And for the record, I'm a former state historic preservation officer. I was appointed by Governor Gary Johnson. So it was my job to enforce both federal and state historic preservation laws that had any impact on registered cultural and historic property in the state of New Mexico. I salute Carlos's efforts here, and I think it's a good proposal, but I think ultimately it's going to require state review. We're going to have the Historic Preservation Division review this proposal. Because the building itself, 105 Bridge Street, does sit within a local, state, and national register district. Bridge Street is all of those, has all of that significance. Also, the proposal, as I understand it, to demolish this building in order to widen Moreno Street right at that point has some complexities to it that I don't think have been presented. You know, I think at a minimum, and I'm advising you as board members and the city itself, at a minimum, there should be some kind of traffic study that should really look at that intersection. And even though it's a minor widening of that intersection, I think it might have multiple impacts, not only on Moreno Street itself, but the traffic flow into Bridge Street, also pedestrian crossing of that intersection, and also potential impacts to the Guaymas River Park. So I think, you know, it sounds like a good proposal, but I think that there could be some unforeseen impacts that we can't really see right now. I'm also concerned because I've been a very interested business person as the paving project that was described before, the repaving of Bridge Street and the plaza, as you know, is ongoing now, and so it's going to be going on for the next 6 months, is my understanding. And the linkage of this project to that paving project, I think, also has some concerns for us. I did consult with Carla McWilliams. Carla McWilliams is the staff member at the Historic Preservation Division that provides advice to certified local governments like the City of Las Vegas. And when the paving project was presented to them by DOT and the City of Las Vegas, this particular widening of Moreno Street was not included. So I feel that the state has not had enough of an opportunity to review this particular proposal in the context of the whole paving project, and certainly the context of that intersection. You know, I think for the historic district itself, for Bridge Street itself, 105 Bridge Street, to me, has a pretty important position, even though it's a falling down building. It's still the entrance to Bridge Street and an important commercial district for our community, which is the Old Town Commercial District. As you come down the hill from Highlands University and you cross the river, that's the first thing you see. So I think, you know, what it's going to look like, I can see that Carlos has some attractive decks and that plan, but I think we need a more complete understanding of what it's going to look like, certainly from a street level view. You know, it'd be good to have some elevations of what the finished product is going to look like, so that you and the city council and everybody can have a better understanding of what that entry is going to look like. So the bottom line is, because this is involving city funds, and a city partnership, let's say, it's going to trigger a state law that will require state review ultimately. Even if you approve it, and even if the city council approves it, it will still have to go to the state, in my opinion, for review. Okay.
No, we don't.
So
Thank you, Mr.
that's my
Baca.
comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Mr. Maynes.
Chairman, DRB, members, the thing is that we're wanting to abate an unsafe condition. One of the biggest things is that crack. I don't know, do you guys have a copy of that failure that's happening? I have some photographs that show that the crack's getting pretty big, and we have a, here's one, that's that one, Mr. Chairman. So this crack here is getting
That's-
really wide.
That's
I
up
was-
to date.
And I'm still a certified building official, certified building inspector. I'm not practicing here in the city of Las Vegas only because we don't have a full-service building department. But if you see that rim that goes around that building, that ring, back in the day, Franken Construction, they put in that ring just to hold the building together. In 2015, they installed that repair. I was here, let me see, and one of the prerequisites from Jim Hands was that ring be recertified every 5 years. We don't have any recertification of that ring, and that building is separating. And if you look at this east wall over here to the east wall facing the river, it's also failing in the front. So I've been monitoring that building. I live here in Las Vegas, and I was building inspector here. I started in 2011, and I think in 2009 maybe you guys did that repair. I think it was just because I called Philip, and I asked Philip, I need a record of that repair. So when West Las Vegas acquired that building from, what was it, the Mahours, they didn't know that they had bought a Monster, okay? I understand Elmo on his position, and of course it has to go through the state preservation. All those renderings and all that has gonna happen. Another thing is that I'm also your state certified floodplain manager for the city of Las Vegas. Another problem that we have there is that we're lucky that in September of 2013, when we had that big flood, the water didn't come and hit that corner. We're also been very lucky that wall hasn't failed. Buses go through there, the rumbling and all that. I couldn't forgive myself if a boatload of kids got smashed by that wall. I do believe that wall is moving. Now the crack, when I look at it, I can see the sky. And unless we recertify that repair, for them to start and do engineering and add more money to that repair, just to hold that wall is just statically just being held where it's at. The ring is not doing anything, it's just keeping it vertical. But what's happening is that we're having a lot of freeze thaw, and it's in the winter time, things are happening just like that building that fell in Florida. We don't know what's happening underneath. We already lost the basement, we already lost the integrity of the sidewalls, and the weight of that ring is going to come into play. And so what's happening is that it could buckle this way. You know, to the weight of it will cause it to fail, because there was cracks there in 2011 that weren't there before. The major crack on the, I guess it would be the south line, is really a lot greater. We can't patch it and pretend that it's not there. We have received various calls to the city of Las Vegas from concerned citizens. They don't even want to walk under it. They don't want to drive under it. Mr. Lopez is, I met with him at the site, but we already know the condition of it. But some of our local officials just want to shut down that road completely and not let traffic through there at all right now. And it could be, we could shut down that road for 10 years. But right now, that is an unsafe condition and somebody's gonna get hurt. The building, when I went through it with James, what was his name, Rick?
Ron James.
Ron James, he's the architect from Pecos. When we're gonna do that fourplex, and I know Elmo knows about this, they tried to say, State Preservation Board said from the state, how much of this building can we save to leave a little historic behind it? Just a little bit. Can we leave something in the, even though you wrecked all this building, how much of it can we save? I think they came up with a 7-foot long piece, about maybe 4 feet high to 0. A little, and I was there for that, for those hearings, we had them here. And so, and since then, that building is worse, and it would behoove the DRB to approve the demolition of that wall. Now, all the hurdles that have to be passed through the state, of course, we all know that you guys aren't going to pass anything, I mean, this board is not going to pass anything without state approval. But the main concern is Mr. Lopez has to do something with that building, whether he abates the nuisance by demolishing it, repairing. Always remember that there's 3 options he has: remove, replace, right? Or remove, replace, or demolish. So he has those options. But the thing is that this red tag they gave him is the first notice. If we give another notice, he's acting on this notice. If he doesn't demolish, we're going to have to give him a second notice. After 15 days of the second notice, if nothing's been done with the building, he's going to be acquiring a $300 fine a day after that, because our vacant building ordinance moves forward that way. And so we are in a complex position, but the main thing is we need to abate the unsafe condition.
You know, I'm going to have to tell you on a personal level how I feel about the historical significance in our community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've had many buildings that have been taken down at the approval of the city, or the city has done it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had, and I could name quite a few buildings, but I'm not going to name any because I don't think it's necessary.
Right.
For those of us that have lived here long enough, we know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's a building, and the owner is here, Mr. Berskings.
Mm-hmm.
He bought the Estella's Cafe restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
and I go to Rialto often,
Mm-hmm.
and as soon as you walk out the Rialto, you could see the crack on the building, where it was similar to this one, except in this case, there's another building that is leaning towards. So it's a little bit different.
Oh, yeah.
But come back a year and a half later and that crack is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. They did something to it that preserved it. Mr. Lopez himself, there's a building across the street, the one that got a lot of attention most recently because the city was...
The Fram building?
The Fram building, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was walking down Bridge Street one day and I saw the door open. And there was 2 gentlemen working there. And I asked, you know, do you guys mind if I take a look inside?
Mm-hmm.
They said, of course, yeah, go ahead and go. They had the door wide open. They had a dumpster outside.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a ramp, a temporary ramp that went from the door
Mm-hmm.
all the way down to the basement.
Mm-hmm.
They had taken the floor completely apart. Mr. Lopez had.
Mm-hmm.
They had taken the floor completely apart, and the wall and the roof was still there. You know, so I bet that today, if I was to go look at that building, I bet they've already pretty much
This is a weekly test of the emergency alert system.
I mean, we saw the big pictures where there's nothing inside the building. All that's holding are the walls.